Liberty 5 3000. We wish to write this name, we wish to speak it, but we dare not speak it above a whisper. For men are forbidden to take notice of women, and women are forbidden to take notice of men. But we think of one among women, they whose name is Liberty 5 3000, and we think of no other women, no others. The women who have been assigned to work the soil live in the homes of the peasants beyond the city. Where the city ends, there is a great road winding off to the north, and we street sweepers must keep this road clean. Okay, so there's a specific road that he has to keep clean. There is a hedge along this road, and beyond the hedge lie the fields. The fields, they're black, they're plowed, they lie like a great fan before us, with their furrows gathered in some hand beyond the sky, spreading forth from that hand opening wide apart as they come towards us, like black pleats that sparkle with thin green spangles. Women work in these fields with their white tunics in the wind, are like the wings of seagulls beating over the black soil. Really, really rich and fertile land that they have here. Some beautiful imagery, beautiful, like rich, fertile descriptions. And there it was that we saw Liberty 5 3000 walking along these furrows. Their body was straight and thin as a blade of iron. Their eyes were dark and hard and glowing, with no fear in them, no kindness also, but no guilt. Their hair was golden as the sun. Their hair flew in the wind, shining and wild, as if it defied men to restrain it. As if the hair was saying that, can anyone stop my hair from going all over? They threw seeds from their hand as if they would deign to fling a scornful gift, and the earth was a beggar under their feet. So the way she was throwing these was as if she was mocking, like, you know, the way if you get a gift that you don't want and you like want to be really nasty about it, you would be like, I toss it. I don't want this. As if the earth was a beggar under their feet. We stood still. For the first time, did we know fear? For the first time, pain. And we stood still that we might not spill this pain, more precious than pleasure. Why is he not moving? Why is he not leaving? Because why is he sitting and standing entranced at this woman? Because this pain that he feels for the first time is more precious to him than any pleasure he has ever gotten in his whole entire life. Then we heard a voice from the others call their name, Liberty 5 3000, and they turned and walked back. Thus, this is how we learned their name. And we stood watching them go till their white tunic was lost in the blue mist. And the following day, as we came to the northern road, we kept our eyes upon Liberty 5 3000 in the field. And each day thereafter, we knew the illness of waiting for 1 hour on the northern road. And there we looked at Liberty 5000 each day. We know not whether they looked at us also, but we think they did. Then one day they came close to the hedge, and suddenly they turned to us. They turned in a whirl, and the movement of their body stopped as if slashed off, as suddenly as it had started. So the whirl was like really abrupt, and really abrupt to stop also. Abrupt to start, abrupt to stop, like as if it had been slashed. They stood still as a stone, and they looked straight upon us, straight into our eyes. There was no smile on their face, no welcome. But their face was taut, and their eyes were dark, and they turned as swiftly, and they walked away from us. But the following day, when we came to the road, they smiled. They smiled to us and for us, and we smiled in answer. Their head fell back, their arms fell as if their arms and their thin white neck were stricken suddenly with a great lassitude. They were not looking upon us, but upon the sky. Then they glanced at us over their shoulder, as we felt as if a hand had touched our bodies, slipping softly from our lips to our feet. Every morning afterwards, thereafter, we greeted each other with our eyes. We dared not speak. It is a transgression to speak to men of other trades, except save in groups at the social meetings. You can't talk to anyone. But once standing at the hedge, we raised our hand to our forehead and then moved it slowly, palm down, towards Liberty 5 3000. Had the others seen it, they could have guessed nothing, for it looked only as if we were shading our eyes from the sun. But Liberty 5 3000 saw it and understood. They raised their hand to their forehead and moved it as we had. Thus, each day we greet Liberty 5 3000, and they answer, and no men can suspect. Okay, so there's something going on between the two of them, in the sense that they both are kind of more quite hypnotized with each other. We do not wonder at this new sin of ours. It is our second transgression of preference, for we do not think of all our brothers as we must, but only of one, and their name is Liberty 5 3000. We do not know why we think of them. We do not know why, when we think of them, we feel all of a sudden that the earth is good and that it is not a burden to live. We do not think of them as Liberty 3000 any longer. We have given them a name in our thoughts. We call them the Golden One. But it is a sin to give men names which distinguish them from other men. Yet we call them the Golden One, for they are not like the others. The Golden One are not like the others. Okay, so again, the same thing. One sin leads to the next, right? And it's a very quick sort of downhill trajectory. It is like a plunging free fall, and there seems to be no escape from it. But here's what happens. These are the things that he's doing wrong. Firstly, he is not allowed to look at women. They're not allowed to look at them. And yet they're like waving to each other, okay? And you cannot think of any one person. You have to think of the collective always. You can't think like, oh, okay, this is international, this is union. No, this is brotherhood, brothers. But we think of Liberty 3000. And then like the reaction to her is that, he thinks earth is good, life is good, and there's no pain, there's no sorrow, things can be really nice. This kind of positivity sort of seeps into him. And then another thing is he's given her a name, and names, are not allowed because they, again, identify, they separate, they create distinctions. They also give like the feeling of individuality, which is not okay. And you can't do that. Yet what has happened to this man? He's broken the boundaries to such a point that there's no turning back for him, and there's no remorse, and there's no regret, because he has gotten a taste of life that only few have tasted. And once you get the true taste of life, you just can't go back. It's like, it's like riding a bicycle. You can't unlearn it. You can never unlearn riding a bicycle or swimming. So now what happens? We take no heed of the law, which says that men may not think of women, save at the time of mating. This is a time each spring when all the men older than 20 and all the women are sent for one night to the city palace of mating. And each of the men have one of the women assigned to them by the Council of Eugenics. Children are born each winter, but women never see their children, and children never know their parents. Twice have we been sent to the palace, but it is an ugly and shameful matter of which we do not like to think. We had broken so many laws, and then today we broke one more. Today we spoke to the Golden One. The other women were far off in the field when we stopped at the hedge. And the Golden One were kneeling alone at the moat which runs through the field. And the drops of water falling from their hands as they raised the water to their lips were like sparks of fire in the sun. Okay, he's very, very dramatic and very, very like inventive with his language and really into this lady. Then the Golden One saw us, and they did not move, kneeling there, looking at us, and circles of light played upon their white tunic from the sun on the water of the moat. And one sparkling drop fell from a finger of the hand held as frozen in the air. Then the Golden One rose and walked to the hedge as if they had heard a command in our eyes. Okay, so almost like his eyes have commanded her, come. The two other street sweepers of our brigade were 100 paces away. Okay, so the others are a little bit far. And we saw that International 48818 would not betray us, and Union would not even understand. So we looked straight upon the Golden One, and we saw the shadows of their lashes on their white cheeks and the sparks of sun on their lips. And we said, you are beautiful, Liberty 3000. Their face did not move, and they did not avert their eyes. Only the eyes grew wider, and there was triumph in their eyes. And it was not triumph over us, but over things we could not guess. Then they asked, what's your name? Equality? You're not one of our brothers, Equality, for we do not wish you to be. We cannot say what they meant, for there are no words for their meaning, but we know it without words, and we knew it then. No, we answered, nor are you one of our sisters. If you see us among scores of women, will you look upon us? We shall look upon you, Liberty 3000. If we see you among all the women of the earth. Then they asked, are street sweepers sent to different parts of the city, or do they always work in the same places? They always work in the same places, we answered, and no one will take this road away from us. Your eyes are not like the eyes of any among men. And suddenly, without cause for the thought which came to us, we felt cold to our stomach. How old are you? We are. They understood our thought, for they lowered their eyes for the first time. 17, they asked. Okay, now what is happening here is just this, that Union whatever is not getting the point that, okay, he's talking to a woman, because that's not okay. And Union, has half a brain, if you remember from last time. And International whatever is his friend and is not going to belie him and betray him and deface the trust that they have. So he goes and talks to her, and she comes and she reciprocates, and she is in there in a conversation, and she says that you're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And the only question she has is, but what if there are lots of women? Would you see us only? Would you look at me only? And he says, yes, if even there was a earth of women, only I will see you. And then she says, you know what, you're not my brother, which on the surface would obviously seem like a bad thing for him to say, because see, we cannot say what they meant, for there are no words for their meaning, but we knew with our words, and we knew it then. Like he's like, oh, okay, because if she's his brother, then obviously they're not going to love each other. So then she's just like, oh, they can't be husband and wife. So he's just like, you know what, you're also not my sister. So that is what is happening here. And they have a small teensy weensy leensy dialogue. Okay, now
you can say they're starting to fall in love with each other.
Yeah, we can say this. Okay, now what's happening here is basically like this golden one, okay, who he's not supposed to call the golden one, like he doesn't want her to be with any other man, obviously, and he's just thinking, how can he kind of not possess her, but at least keep her away from any other sort of presence of men. So still without reason, like he was not getting it why, but we felt our lips drawn tight with hatred, a sudden hatred for all our brother men. The golden one saw it and smiled slowly, and there was in their smile the first sadness we had seen. We think that in the wisdom of women, the golden one had understood more than we can understand. So basically, he was very angry that, oh, why can't we choose? That's why he's kind of suddenly having this hatred, that why can't we choose who we want to be with and who we want to live with and who we like? And she like instantly got it, that's what he was talking about, that he's talking about, like, this is wrong. We should be allowed to have our own wants and our own desires and act on them within reason, of course. But then what happened? 3 of the sisters in the field appeared coming toward the road. So the golden one walked away from us. She took the bag of seeds. She threw the seeds into the furrows of earth as she walked, but the seeds flew wildly, for the hand of the golden one was trembling.